Hi again, welcome to Insentra Insights, where I get the opportunity to share some of the great minds in our business with you and share with you some of the things that they're coming up with and taking to market to help our channel partners and their clients further their businesses. And today I'm joined on the couch by Matt Kaplan. So Matt, it's great to be sitting around and
Great to
having
be
a
chatting
chat
again. Thank you.
Far more relaxing for you this time than a week into the gig.
Exactly.
So let's just sort of start with, where do you see the Insentra managed services versus what it is our partners do and that interaction and how we play together?
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for the opportunity to chat again. 19 months in, as you said, a lot's happened over the last 19 months. I just take a step back and see where we've evolved our managed service in the last 19 months. I always often use the analogy of imagining back when you've had a meal with someone. And if you can remember a time when you yourself had a meal with someone, a loved one, a family friend, can you remember where you were, what you were eating, what restaurant or location you were at? And when I often ask customers and partners this, there's a smile that comes to their face, just like the one coming to your face now. And I remember where mine was. And mine was on a Greek island with my wife, and we were having the most wonderful meal on the rocks overlooking a harbour. And I remember everything about the meal. I remember the food. I remember the table. I remember the seating. I remember the waiting staff, the manager. I remember the sounds and the smells and everything around me. And that, I think, is what our managed service is like. It's from end-to-end perspective. And I think it's not a commodity service anymore. I think it's a true end-to-end experience. From the times when things go wrong, and things do go wrong, tech's going to break, but it's how you react and what you put in place to make it not happen again the same way. And then it's the proactive approach of continuous adding value. That's the difference, I think, of ours.
Okay. And this fine dining experience, one of the things you've done with our marketing team is created a menu of
Correct.
managed services, right? Which, I remember the first time I thought, oh, that's really quite cool. And everybody I've given that menu to has said, oh, I love this. The concept of picking a main and then pairing options
100%.
with things that they can take with it. So
100%. It's a bit quirky, but it's daring to be a little bit different, which is great. But it's definitely along the lines of a finite group or niche service of services that one can pick and choose a series of main services from, and then pair them with things like ITIL disciplines or service management capability or service desk offerings. So it's not a menu of, let's say, 30, 40, 50 items, but it's a menu of 12 or 13 niche services that we add to, I must say, quarterly, and we're bringing out some new services right now, which is exciting for our partners. But it's 12 or 13 services that we go very deep into and have great skills and certifications and relevancy behind the engineers that deliver against that. And then it's all backed up by very sound ITIL methodology, incident, change, problem management, major incident management, patch and release management. And then all of that's delivered through a global cover, but locally delivered.
right. So and that global cover is something that you was one of your focuses over the recent months is sort of setting up our 24/7 follow the sun, eyes on glass capability. And I'm seeing that we're starting to get demands from our partners now around picking up their after hours. I think it'd be good just to talk a little bit about, what are you seeing there? What's the problem that we solve?
So this journey is about a year in the making, where we've built out a service capability offshore, which is fantastic. We've got some great skills and engineering that are coming through in the first and second line capability, and they then escalate to our second and third and fourth level teams globally, which is fantastic.
Who are awake all the way through, right?
Correct. So it allows us to do an effective follow the sun. It's not an engineer with a mobile phone next to his bed or her bed at night and they get woken up and they're expected to do an after hours job and a day job. But this is a key group of individuals whose sole focus is after hours. It's their daytime, it's the customer's nighttime, for example. And that allows us to do great follow the sun and effective functional and hierarchical escalation. So where we need different sets of engineers or more senior engineers, we can really follow that call across the UK, the US, Australia, and Manila.
Okay. And how is that? I mean, one of the big questions that partners have is, I have to deliver a 24/7 service. And sometimes it's not just a partner, sometimes it's an ISV who's got a great piece of software. And really what they're great at is developing software, not necessarily, the whole support services, etc. But so what I understand the partners are asking of us is, I'm very comfortable doing my daily support during my business hours. I've got that covered, but it's very hard to maintain the after hours.
Yeah, sure. So there's a cost element to it as well. So first of all, the partner is expected to provide a 6 or 7 resources to cover a full 24/7 shift. So we can pick up that overflow from them. And then there's the capability overflow. So workers and end users are consuming IT at different times now. So a lot of them, especially in the cloud and 365, that's mail or Teams or collaboration tools or SharePoint. And those types of services are being consumed after hours. And if someone doesn't have available email or available intranet after hours, that is a crisis, and productivity and efficiency can slump. So we're able to pick that up. Customer can overflow to us. We've got some very good, robust integration of service desk tools and monitoring tool sets.
So tell me more about the integration of the service desk tools.
Yeah, so effectively a partner can flick a switch at a couple of minutes to 6 at night and reroute those inbound calls or emails to us. They can reroute their monitoring events, and we can pick up all their monitoring events as well. And we can effectively become an extension of their after-hours team. We can pick up that phone call with a persona of the partner. We can handle their customers' issues and concerns. That's reactively. Proactively, we can jump into their environments and look at events and monitoring alerts and proactively do change management after hours. So repeatable tasks like new user creation or cleaning a database or auditing an environment, that can all be offloaded to us after hours, and it frees up the partner and their customers' IT teams to do BAU type work, to do strategic work, and lets us do the things that one can automate, or the things that one can do in a volume play.
One of the biggest challenges with any 24/7 operation, when it's just within one organization, let alone when it's done with two disparate companies, is the handover and the ticket logging and the updating. How do we deal with that?
Yeah, we've put a lot of time into our transition in or onboarding process. It's quite a detailed, rigorous process. It's got about 45 steps in it. It's project managed, which again brings a rigor and a maturity to it. It involves an initial kickoff with the partner, which is great. So the partner and Insentra know exactly what that partner has sold, and make sure that the rules of engagement are clear and understood. Does the partner want to get engaged and involved on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis operationally with the customer? Do they want to just hand that off to us and just be the transactional partner? And when they do want to get involved, do they want to field calls and triage them and then hand over to us? Do they want to just pass calls to us after hours? So there's a very rigorous transition in and onboarding process that includes things like documentation, high and low level design work, contact and communication lists. We bring in our patch management and monitoring framework, which again we believe is mature. We look at the business processes within that customer, and we measure that against the technology and infrastructure that it sits on. And then we categorize it based on category 1, 2, and 3. And then we patch category 3s first, and then category 2s, and we test. So there's a lot of rigor and maturity behind that onboarding, and it hopefully gives the customer and the partner a sense of comfort that their IT is with a best-of-breed organization that's done this for quite some time, and they can forget about that in the day-to-day and focus on projects and initiatives and strategic work.
And just coming specifically, though, to service desk integration, because let's say, for example, we're taking the after-hours calls for a partner. They like, great, I don't need to staff a 24/7 desk now. I can leverage Insentra. I'll do 9 till 6 or 8 till 6, whatever the case may be. And at 6 o'clock, I flick that switch and Insentra gets a call.
Correct.
Where does Insentra log a ticket? How does a partner get the handover? How does that happen?
Okay, so we built very good push and pull API capability into the major ticketing systems that are out there. We use a particular ticketing system in our environment called Zendesk, which is best of breed system, globally recognized and really good from a scale perspective. And then we integrate that with monitoring systems like ConnectWise or Kaseya or Autotask or Remedy, for example. So our automation team, ServiceNow, for example, Jira, Freshservice, etc. So we've integrated into all of those from a push and a pull perspective.
So when we can pull open tickets,
we can pull open tickets. We normally see ourselves as a resolver group in those retained organization service desk tools. So Insentra becomes the after-hours resolver group or a resolver group. And when tickets are placed in that queue, we pull from our API and place them in our service desk. We're trying to avoid swivel chair. We can't have multiple service desks open, so we all drive from our own service desk. We log calls in our environment, we triage them, and we resolve them, hopefully. And all those different process mechanisms then update, resolve, and close in the partner service desk. And the idea is after hours, in the next morning, we hand back a series of calls that we may have worked on. And For example, out of 10, we may have fixed and resolved 8, but 2 we're handing back. Or 6 we're able to contact a customer, but 2 we weren't, and they were in a parked state. So all of that integration works seamlessly from a service ticketing perspective, and then from an infrastructure monitoring perspective, we're able to pull and push into monitoring systems as well, which allows us then to hop onto a partner's environment through maybe a jump host or a jump box, and then control and give access to their customers' environments. So effectively, we are the after-hours outsource provider.
So become an extension of
100% extension to that partner's team, and take away that headache of
and can be white
after
labeled
hours.
too.
It could be white labeled, very much so, and we can give portals and landing pages. When we answer the phone, it's persona based. So hey, partner, or partner service desk after hours, how can we help you? So all of it is white labeled as well.
Fantastic. And we do that by following the sun, which is really quite cool. So that's been something our partners have been crying out for, is can you help us take that? And that's a really rapidly growing part of our organisation. What are you seeing in terms of the offerings that we have and the problems they're solving? So that 24/7 solves a big problem, big headache for a number of partners. No matter where they are on the planet, every partner has, unless they're at massive scale, they all have this kind of problem. What are some of the other services? Because one of the questions I get asked a lot is, hey, we do managed services, why would we use you in Insentra? What are you seeing as where those gaps we plug are and how we're...
Yeah. So as you said, a number of our partners are embracing the 365 or embracing Azure. Where we try to overlay and have brought in a supporting service, again, as an extension, a second and third level part to their organizations, is in an Azure Analytics service, for example. So although partners can manage the infrastructure as a service within Azure, we've overlaid a service that looks at cost efficiencies and resource optimization. We've wrapped the service in a secure score and compliance out of the Azure stack. So we're able to provide that partner and in turn their customers a great scorecard and dashboard view across all those disciplines, which is a bit separate to just managing the infrastructure in Azure, for example. In 365, yes, some partners are doing 365 support, but we bring to them that second and third level 365 support. What a lot of our partners are asking for is skills transfer and knowledge transfer back to the partner service desk. So we work with and alongside those partners to handhold them with respect along that journey. And over time, their step change gets better and better. And we then pull back a little bit and start doing just the second and the third, or then just the third. And slowly but surely, those partners are increasing their skill sets. I suppose the third one is compliance against things like HIPAA or SOC 2 or compliance objectives like GDPR. And again, we help our partners adhere to that. Also in change and adoption. So a lot of our partners are moving their customers into 365, but the change and adoption is low. And we help proactively tell those partners and their customers, you might be licensed for 50 or 100 users, but only 80 are using Teams, for example. How can we help you enable and get that license count up? So that's good news for a partner. They can sell more licenses, and their customers and the CIO within that customer can make sure they're getting the most efficiency and productivity and return on their investment.
Right. So what we're finding then is you have partners who have a set of managed services, and the offerings that you've developed with your team that have been with us for a number of years now, and you've refined them and creating new ones, as you said, to solve the problems that our partners are telling us they're struggling to solve. So you may have a partner who can do some level of 365 managed services, but maybe they can't do the proactivity, or maybe they can't do the compliance. Or so how does it work when a partner can do part of a service and we augment over the top? How does that work with a partner? What are you seeing that the partners are, what are the challenges and what are some of the ways that we're overcoming
those? So we work with and alongside them on a monthly basis, and we put KPIs in place to upskill and knowledge transfer. So if those partners want to take on a particular service offering or a level of service in, let's say, 6 to 9 months, we work back from that and see what they need to do in order to deliver that service in that period of time.
So we deliver the managed service for them with the option for them to then be trained up on how to deliver that managed service and for them to then take it on
You're
themselves.
quite correct. And then possibly our role is just the third line escalation, and they're effectively doing level 1, level 2. Or maybe we've wrapped the compliance objective, but they can deliver the 365 and the Azure level 1 and level 2 general day-to-day work. Mm-hmm. So I suppose what I'm trying to get across is that the model is very flexible and customized per partner that we work with. Some partners are quite mature in their offering. They have big service desks, as you said earlier on. They have global capability, but they haven't got the tooling or the focus to do that analytical component or the insights component. And again, where we've tried to differentiate ourselves is to be on that proactive side of finding and predicting, using good insights and analytics, how partner and customer is going to perform over the next 2 or 3 months. What we're seeing is a lot of partners are really good day to day and maybe a bit lagging in some of their indicators, but we want to provide them leading indicators of all things remaining equal. This is how you're going to perform over the next 2, 3 a month. And that's value. That's immensely value to them, because then that helps them in their change management or business decisions if they know how they're going to perform. And we've really tried to focus a center of excellence around the analytics and insights that our systems can generate through Azure, through Citrix, for example, through Microsoft, Windows 10, and all those services. We really wrapped an analytical component to it.
Right, so it's not simply then just we'll take your IT and we'll manage it and run it for you. It's that.
It's that and more.
But really the value that we're bringing to the partners is to take it, even if they are doing that they can do that plus by working together, and it's not an either or, it's an and scenario.
It's an and it definitely opens up other streams, service and revenue streams for those partners that they may have left on the table before and walked away from. Now they're able to open up different capability and say, well, we can do that by partnering with Insentra. We can have a Citrix division, we can have a Windows 10 division, or we can play in the Azure stack. Or when they're already in that environment, they can definitely increase their service levels to that level 2 and level 3 and very detailed skill set, but still take off the level 1 and level 2. So it's a combination of both. It's leveraging off Insentra as an extension to their team, but partnering with Insentra when they don't have that skill set.
And, a lot of times we get approached by clients and say, let's say, for example, we're working in a managed service for a partner. We're working alongside them, and more often than not, if it's not the outsource of the 24/7 support, more often than not, we're not white labelled, because partners do like to say, hey, we're working with these experts in this particular space. How do we operate? What do your team do when an end user client who's been working with them says they want something else? What does your team do in that scenario?
Another service outside of scope you're referring to? Yeah, all right. So we're flexible and we want to work with our partners and with our customers, but we need to work within the confines of a contract or within a scope. As an example to that, we have a service that we've termed Reactive Support Hours. What that enables a partner to do is to leverage off Insentra for any kind of call that's logged against our service catalog. So they can take a bucket of hours, support hours, different to block, support hours delivered by our level 2, level 3 global engineers, and allows that partner to log a call against any of those services and pick from Exchange, from SQL, from Citrix, from Linux, from Windows 10, from Azure, really open up their capability. Where we have a defined contract with a managed service with a customer, our service delivery management comes into play there. And that's the liaison, and that's the relationship with the partner and the customer that really looks into the construct of that contract and make sure we're delivering against KPI, we're delivering against scope. And where there's some scope creep, which is probably what you're describing, it's a conversation with the partner and the customer to say, we have the skills, we can help you, and it's possibly unlocking a different contract or an uplift in the contract, and let's put all parties together and see how we can move forward with this.
Right.
And we're seeing that in a number of our contracts. It's difficult to invite someone into your home, for example, and to paint the whole interior of your house. If you've never met them, you might have a challenge with that from a safety perspective or a trust perspective. So you might give them the garden to maintain initially. And once they do a fantastic job across that, you then might invite them to do a piece inside your house. And managed services is a little bit like that. It's difficult to come across and say, give us your entire estate to manage without us knowing you. There's a trust element there, or an efficiency, or a relationship element. And as we start building up our relationship, we start getting more and more pieces of that managed service, and we're seeing it grow and extend. And that leads to other professional services arrangements as well. So a PS arrangement can lead to an MS arrangement, and a long-standing MS relationship with good trust, efficiency, can lead to more PS arrangements. So that they work hand in hand and work very effectively together.
Right, and what I picked up from that as well is that the SDMs that we have will work with the partner and take it back to the partner and say, hey, this client is now asking for this. So then if the partner can do that themselves without needing us, then they can go off and do that.
Oh, very much so. So it's not always that we will deliver against that service, most definitely. So the SDM is the liaison between the partner and Insentra and the partner and the client. And when opportunities or scope creep comes up, the first port of call is the partner to say, this has come up. There's a service extension here. do you have the capability? Do you want to do the service extension? And the partner can say, yes, thank you very much for unlocking that, or we'll take it from here. Or no, that's not within our wheelhouse. Do you have that in Insentra? Yes, we can do that for you. Let's work again together to service your customer.
Right, so the partner always owns their account. The partner always gets to make the call as to what they do. So we're really there just to be the extension of their team.
Very much so.
And plug gaps or deliver things that they can't deliver.
Very much so. So the strategic relationship is with the partner, the commercial relationship and the transactional relationship is with the partner, with the operational arrangement. And although we work with and alongside the client on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis, and we're building up that knowledge and that relationship, the partner is always there at the front and always leading those engagements and discussions.
And we're always feeding all of that info back to the partner, so the partner is kept abreast at all
Correct.
times as to what's going on in their account.
100%. They're involved with all the monthly service management meetings, if they want to be. They're involved in the quarterly QBRs or the annual reviews, and there's continuous feedback loop to the partner.
Right, so it'd be just like we were sitting in their offices as their team.
We're an extension to their team, Ronnie. We act on their behalf to their customer.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And what's next? What's coming up for managed services as we roll the end of the financial?
Yeah, so we're looking at 2 or 3 new services to add to our catalogue of services right now. We're looking at the a managed blockchain initiative. Mm-hmm. We're looking at a managed AI and machine learning capability as well. A little bit out there, but that follows on from our integration of Service Desk and our tooling, and that we have access to this data. And now, if we can automate it and put some clever AI behind it, we can add a lot more value to our partners and their customers as well. And then there's some managed IoT, looking at data frameworks. And a number of our partners and customers are playing in the IoT world, from devices and telemetry and measuring different IoT sensors. But we're looking at the framework behind IoT, how to use, consume, secure, de-risk, and validate that data.
Okay. And there's a lot of work that you've been doing in automation and orchestration. What's sort of some of the highlights out of that stuff that you're doing?
So in the 365 space, we've used some great tools in the orchestration space, which allows the partner again to take on some first and or second level tools or processes within using that orchestration tool, and allows us to do level 2, level 3 orchestration on the same tool. So we're using tools across platforms, but the partner is allowed to hop onto that tool as well and do first and second line. And again, that helps with adoption as well as skills and upliftment within the partner community as well. So there's an element of upskilling and knowledge transfer to partners, and other partners don't want to have anything to do with it and just want Insentra to do it, and that's fine as well. We flex to both sides.
Fantastic. Is there anything else that's going on in your part of the world that you want to share, with the audience who's keen to understand more about our managed services for partners?
So we're doing some fantastic stuff in our user experience as a service offering. We've built out a Centre of Excellence specifically focused on user experience and analytics, and it receives feeds from multiple different markets as well as verticals and customers, and it allows our Centre of Excellence engineers to deep dive into the data and analytics of that data and really predict and provide a CIO efficiency and productivity analysis of how their data is being used. We measure business processes within an organization, and then we inject synthetic or virtual users into a business that measure against the kit and the technology that business process sits on.
And give me an example of where we're doing that for a client today.
So we're delivering that out of the US right now to a poultry distributor that's on our managed service, which is fantastic. And we've been working with them for the past 6 to 8 months in efficiency and productivity of their environment. So they're hosting in Azure on the east coast of Azure, and we're able to pull all the analytics from their environment and make sure that they're getting the best use from that Azure instance. And we're able to compare that to other customers also on the east coast of Azure and question, why is customer A different to customer B? Why is customer A getting a worse or better experience than customer B? And we can feed that back to the partner, and they're able to then take that information back to their customer and change their experience. And exactly in this instance of the poultry distributor, the partner loved that because they're able to give very real and valid experience and knowledge back to their customer and change the business outcome. Their customer moved their environments onto a different blob and had a much better experience for their distributed factories. So there's a real life example of how our Centre of Excellence took real live data from a customer and other customers and trended across market verticals in Azure instances on the east coast of the US, and so it snowballs from there.
Interesting. That's really quite interesting. And what about virtual users? Where's a great example of where we've used the virtual user?
So we're using a virtual user in an example in Sydney right now, a big building manufacturer and property developer. We were able to inject a virtual user into their accounting environment. So they have a big team of 90 or 100 users that come in from Manila and use an accounting package. And we have measured that business process that those accounting users follow on a daily basis. And we're able to measure launch times of their Citrix sessions, or Word, or Outlook, or a bespoke application that's in-house to them. And we measure that with a KPI, and as the time starts deteriorating, because it slows down, it pops up in our environment, and our engineers immediately start working on it. And we can change that experience around to the partner and their customer to say, "Hi, Mr. Partner, about an hour ago, your customer was going to experience an issue, but we've moved this database or dismounted this database, and it'll be in the monthly report," versus their customer phoning the partner phoning us saying, "Everything's slowed down, can you look?" It's a very reactive versus now what's very proactive engagement.
Right, so we set a threshold, and we say this is what is
what the norm is.
This should be norm. And then the virtual user keeps testing, and if the virtual user finds that they're falling out of the norm, it's like the canary in the coal mine, starts tweeting and saying, "Hey, there might be gas here."
You're quite correct. Generates events proactively as it starts slowing down before it crashes and stops.
Yep.
And we can preempt a slowdown and a negative impact to the users, pick it up, hopefully resolve and triage as quick as we can, and provide that back to the customer.
Right. So now what I'm hearing, and of course I know a lot of this, but it's really important to pull it out of Matt and share it with all of you. What I'm hearing then is that our managed services, yes, they do the base level, we can do the on-off, up-down, red, green light stuff. That's sort of foundational. Yet what we really are about doing is taking that and putting it on steroids. And so not only can we do that, but we can do the analytics around that. We can actually make the data of what's happening in your environment meaningful to an organization, not just to the end user customer of our partner, but to the partner themselves. And then we can also work with customers to identify critical processes in their business that are time sensitive, monitor those processes from a time sensitivity perspective, and then look to see what's causing the problem, and sometimes compare that to other organizations and other verticals, and gather all of that information and really add a whole different level of managed service to what's typically like, you give us your shit, we'll manage your shit. That's not what it's about, right?
It's not about that at all. And it's moved from what's a commodity play to a more niche proactive play where we believe we're adding a different set of value on top of what's expected. It's expected that when stuff goes down, the phone will ring, you answer the call, something will blip in a machine, and you'll pick up and react to that. We do that. But on top of that, we're adding a different set of value to the partner and to the customer. We're looking at adoption and change management. We're looking at all the governance and the disciplines behind security and compliance. We're looking at efficiencies across the cloud engagement and enablement. We're looking at cost optimization. And we've wrapped it all in a user experience and behavior analytics, where we've invested in a center of excellence that looks at all those speeds and feeds from all of our different customers and partners across different market verticals, and allows us to now determine and trend and provide that feedback back to the partners and their customers and make informed business decisions. But it's about a future looking, not past and what the last 5 minutes or hour or last week was. That's great from an auditing perspective. Tick the box, put it in the drawer. We want to know, how are you going to perform over the next 2 months? And that, I think, is gold dust to a CIO.
It is gold dust, and that's what we're finding is the feedback that we're getting as well.
Very much so.
And I think on that employee experience, right, and for us, we don't have employees at Insentra, we have crew, because my thoughts on the term employee. But that I was reading something yesterday about how in the future, the prediction is that organizations are going to be spending way more money. Yeah, I guess that still makes reasonable English sense. Spending a lot more money and a lot more time and effort in the employee experience, because it's that experience, particularly with some of the new generations that are coming through, that are so concerned about speed and timeliness and things at their fingertips, that the overall experience from the time someone joins the organization to how fast they get their device, how their device is performing, what their applications are doing, has to be top notch, because nowadays people go, well, that doesn't work well, I'll just go do it this way.
It's instant gratification.
Yeah.
So you need to know that the tool set that you use and the systems you have access to are instantly available and aware and can possibly predict your behavior. and provide you information that you may not ask for, but it's exactly how you consume that data. So for example, in our Office 365 and our Azure bulletins, we are receiving information upfront from Microsoft and other vendors and can push that down to our partners and their users, their customers, to enable them to predict and empower and enable their users to know what's coming in the next day or two. So you change a user's screen right now, or Microsoft does an update and a gray icon now becomes a blue icon, or there's a little menu bar that appears today and it wasn't there yesterday, that can freak out a number of users. And if we can empower our customers' IT departments, or empower our partner to empower their customers with that information up front, we're very progressive and we're very forward thinking, and that enables them to field those calls or push information proactively to their users to say, tomorrow the green bar is going to be blue, or tomorrow you will see this pop up on your screen. Let's have a lunch and learn session and tell you what it's about.
Fantastic. All right, so hopefully what you've been able to glean from today's session is the wonderful work that Matt Kaplan's done since he's been with us for the past 19 months, how he's sort of changed the way our managed services go to market. And really that our managed services are there to plug in with our partners to help them solve problems for their clients that maybe they couldn't solve today, or even problems they are solving, and try and kick that up to the next level, and as I like to say, put it on steroids. So I hope you got a lot of value out of that. Matt, thanks very much for joining me on the couch, buddy.
Thanks, Ronnie.